Started.
You started?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question that I've been asked is, what is my company? And so my company is expertpeer.
Yeah.
expertpeer is a social search and advertising company. So you want to just ask
Okay.
questions?
So social search and advertising. What is social search?
So what is social search and what is social advertising? So social search is actually, according to a prior definition, it was just a search for people. So if you wanted to search, like for example, classmates.com or these different websites, they would just search for people, and that used to be what social search was. But then technology is constantly changing, and we're learning more and more from our social networks, from our peers. And what we see social search as proceeding to is actually searches and finding things from your actual social network. Unlike what current models of search are, which are simply you have Google or Yahoo just algorithmically ranking things. And similarly, what social advertising is actually, instead of just algorithmically or just based on how much money someone paid putting advertisements on the side of a page, which is quite annoying, actually integrating advertising into the whole social system. And so this is how we perceive social search and social advertising.
You mean that social search is a way for you to find out knowledge and information from your friends? So now, can we do it on Facebook or any similar kind of platforms?
Well, so currently, I mean, the models are not of social search and social advertising, right? I mean, it kind of happens implicitly. So just based on my opinion, if I went out and bought a camera, I might recommend it to my friends. And a social advertisement has happened implicitly. Or a social search can happen if I go off and just ask my friends, is this a good thing? Or can you tell me where can I, what website can I go to find out information about this thing? And some friend of mine who knows a good website for it might tell me.
But will it be the same if I just put up a message on Facebook? Then my friend will give me feedback on that message.
So that's actually social news in some sense, right?
Like
Facebook has a news feed.
Yeah.
And so.
Right. Usually people will put up their news status update.
Right. So
on the
status
wall.
update is, news in some sense is also advertising.
Right. But let's first focus on social search.
So for search, I mean more like, instead of searching, like right now, you search by keyword in something like Google or Yahoo or Bing, which Microsoft has been marketing for $350 million.
Yeah.
But actually what you want to be able to do is not just search by keywords, but also search by whole questions. And you want to be able to actually ask your, what is actually good.
Okay.
So
this is your perception of of social search.
So this is my current perception of social search.
So a search engine that can help you ask your friends about particular questions you have.
Yeah, there can be some algorithmic interference with it,
right,
to make it actually better than just asking your friends in general. Because a social search can incorporate not just necessarily your friends, but also other networks. You might be able to get answers from people beyond just your smaller network. But it would actually be an answer that's coming from society as opposed to from simple keyword. So one of the companies that would actually be interesting in terms of social search today would be Aardvark. Aardvark is a new startup from here at Stanford, and Aardvark is actually integrated into Gmail. And they're a well-funded startup now. And you can actually ask questions, and it passes the question around in the network and comes back with an answer. And that's a form of social search that I see going forward.
So what is your proposal over AdWeb? Right, like what's your difference?
So in terms of a company right now, like we have figured out some good ways of actually doing social advertising, and in terms of social search, we're still more in like a research phase. So in terms of social search, we're still trying, like we have mapped out like all the friend rankings and the networks, because in computational math, that's the kind of things we do. And so we have applied even existing algorithms by Google to rank all the friends and to see how important who is in terms of popularity and so forth. And going forward, this can help us evaluate which answers to pick, who is actually an expert or knowledgeable person in a given area.
Do you mean that if I want to buy a camera, then your search engine can help me identify who might be a camera expert for me?
It may be possible in the future. I mean, it's not,
okay.
possibility just yet.
Okay.
But let's say that you have somebody's network is full of VCs and investors, and someone is asking advice on a business plan. Then the person whose network is full of VCs and investors is more likely to give a better answer on a business plan question than someone who is sitting in the middle of Africa and doesn't have any VC contacts and is not in Silicon Valley.
That's true.
And so, because as we map out the whole network, as we search through the network, rank the network, do all these things, have information about the network, we actually know from the network what kind of people are where. And that's why we see that the kind of work we're doing can eventually lead to us having much better knowledge of who is actually an expert on a given.
Okay, so this is your long-term goal or your short-term? You can implement short-term.
Well, okay, so there are two parts, right? One is making revenue, and the other is how we. So there's value and growth.
Yeah.
In any company. And a social search, this search aspect actually helps the growth of the company into something. For example, like Google search, the search itself doesn't make money, right? The search itself ranks things, puts things up, and that's what's helped Google grow into a $152 billion market cap. But the advertisements on the side, when people search for things, who is looking for what do we advertise to them? That's where the value comes in. That's how they make the money. And so we have a similar model where we have a social search which helps us grow as a company, which gives us direction, which helps us learn. And then we have social advertising, which actually leverages all the information we gather from building all this information for social search in order to determine how best to advertise through the social network.
I was not asking you about the model of your business. I was asking...
So in terms of long-term or short-term growth that you're asking?
No, not growth. Is it implementable in short-term or is it feasible in long-term?
Well, so it's maybe implementable within 2 years. Like a very basic level of social search. And obviously the search would, over time, have to be refined and grow.
So do you have any established models or algorithms that you can leverage or you can step on now?
Well, so a level of social search already happens in Facebook as is, right? Like people already just ask a question and just post it in, let's say, a status message, and it goes into their network and people might choose to respond to it. So that's just first level of social search that automatically happens within Facebook. And we can follow in the beginning a similar